So good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. Welcome to the 2025 Pendleton Innovator Showcase. We're thrilled to be gathered here this afternoon at the beautiful Wild Horse Resort and Casino. It's an ideal setting to celebrate startups, innovation, ambition, and the spirit of entrepreneurship. In many ways, startup founders are like wild horses. They're driven, untamed, and built for long runs. They don't wait for permission, which is good and bad. And they charge towards opportunity, running uncharted trails with instinct and grit. And at the Oregon UAS Accelerator, we've always believed with superior support that raw energy becomes unstoppable momentum. And we'll see 5 examples of wild horses on this stage this evening. So to help kick us off this evening, it's an honor to introduce someone who has been a steadfast champion of our program, as well as progress within our community. So I'd like to welcome up Mayor McKinnon McDonald.
Switch real quick.
Yeah, just put this on your badge, maybe.
Thank you for bearing with us there for a second. Good afternoon. As Joseph mentioned, my name is McKinnon McDonald, and I recently became the mayor here in the city of Pendleton, but I've had experience with the city for the last 10 years. And I said that this is one of those things that you rarely get to say as an elected official, that you were there when something started and you're able to see where you're at now. So what I wanted to say today is just I'm really excited to be here with you all and to hear what our innovators have to share with us. I was able to be at the kickoff session as well, so it'll be interesting to see where they've started and where they're at here now. So we have an amazing afternoon here and evening ahead of us. You're going to hear live pitches from our spring cohort. There's a lot of great opportunities for you all to connect and meet other leaders in this industry. And I'm really excited to hear what JD has to share with you here later too, because as a new leader in our community, it's always exciting to hear what our other partners have in store and how we can better work with one another to truly help our region excel to what we really can be. And it's really inspiring for me to see this level of talent and this new industry in our community, and the ambition that we have here in this room, I think will be really exciting to see once we're done. And to our cohort members that are here today, I just want to say on behalf of the City Council, I believe I'm the only person that was able to attend here today, but on behalf of the City Council, we're really proud of what you've built, what you're able to do, and the work that you're able to do up at our test range, because examples like this is what we can share out in the world when we share about what's going on in Pendleton and how we're innovating as a community and how we're investing truly in the future of our community, but into a new industry. So I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to greet you here today, and I'm excited to hear what we have in store for us.
I feel like we're changing clothes. We do this here. So, I want to thank Mayor McDonald. And again, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joseph Wayno. Many of you know me. I am the executive director of the Oregon UAS Accelerator, a nonprofit proudly recognized by the state of Oregon as a center of innovation excellence. Our mission is to advance unmanned aerial and robotic systems by equipping visionary founders with the tools, expertise, and networks they need to scale their breakthrough innovations. Over the past 25 years, I've had the privilege of working across industries and continents, helping entrepreneurs raise more than 1.6 billion in capital and guiding companies towards successful exits and transformative growth. At the Oregon UAS Accelerator, we believe innovation doesn't need to emerge from the expected places. It often thrives in communities willing to bet on bold ideas. And Mayor McDonald and Pendleton have bet on this bold idea. Later this evening, I'll have a chance to explore that theme more in depth with our special fireside chat with JD Tuvey. And I hope that you'll be able to join us for what promises to be a very thoughtful conversation. And so you might be wondering how we accelerate the future of unmanned systems at the Oregon UAS Accelerator. We operate as kind of a finishing school for startups, guiding founders along their entrepreneurial highway towards commercialization. We offer, in my opinion, the most impactful non-dilutive grant funding package in Oregon, if not the Pacific Northwest, which combines funding, resources, expert coaching, and hands-on mentoring to help these innovators turn their bold ideas into viable ventures. Our partnership with the Pendleton UAS test range creates a truly unmatched environment for testing, iteration, and growth. And if you're curious about how well it works, just ask the founders presenting here today. Many of them are already generating revenue. Many of them are, you know, generating revenue and growing by securing grants, follow-on grants, and expanding their operations across Oregon. You know, at the Oregon UAS Accelerator, we bring together startups, government, industry, academia, and capital to build something very rare, a place where innovation not only happens, but thrives in places that you least expect, never asking why, but always answering why not. So what does it mean to be designated as only one of 5 centers of innovation excellence by the state of Oregon? First and foremost, it means that we have the steadfast support of Business Oregon, the state's funding arm. The generous grants that we receive from Business Oregon come to us by way of the Oregon Lottery. So just to be clear, every time you purchase a lottery ticket, some of that money is coming to help us make a significant impact on the life of startup founders developing technologies in unmanned aerial and robotic systems. So who else do we share this CIE distinction with? Well, there are 5, as I mentioned. We are the Oregon UAS Accelerator. In addition to us, there is OTRADI, which is a bioscience center of innovation excellence. There's ONAMI, it's a material science and chemistry center of innovation excellence. Both of them are in Corvallis. We have the Silicon Forest Partnership located in Hillsboro, Oregon, and they support semiconductor technology and workforce development. And of course, our friends at OMIC R&D in Scappoose, Oregon, that focus on additive and subtractive manufacturing. In addition to this, we partner with committed companies and mentors with proven track records of success in the industry. Of course, you know, the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, we're so very honored and, you know, happy to be partners in many ways with Kara and Riley and the whole team at OEN. In addition to this, Lockheed Martin, In-Situ, Autodesk, Forge Tech Alliance, Sigma Design, just to name a few. Our list of committed partners and resources is growing. Like every successful school, there has to be a solid curriculum to give our founders the very best chance at success. Many of our founders, or most of our founders, come to us from very focused STEM fields that don't necessarily translate into being successful business people. And so we have 4 core centers of excellence that set us apart from the rest. Our mandatory 12-week curriculum built around business and investor readiness. We have the nation's only 12-week government SBIR curriculum. We have a robust and unmatched pool of technical expert and mentors, 30 and counting, along with the unmatched capabilities of the Pendleton UAS test range. And in this case, really the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. In addition to this, you know, from week 1 of our learning, we begin to optimize the founders' pitch presentations to ensure that it resonates with investors and strategics. We do this by embedding an on-staff business graphic designer with our business and investor readiness coaches to help our founders take the content that they're refining and turn it into really visual, compelling slides for their pitch decks. And you'll see this tonight with all of our startups who will be presenting. You'll see consistency, balance of content and visuals, along with a compelling voice track. And so, as I mentioned earlier, in my opinion, we have the most impactful pass-through grant award in the state of Oregon, if not in the Pacific Northwest. As I mentioned, I believe this package, which includes $40,000 of non-dilutive funding, cash, as well as about $125,000 worth of in-kind services that extends beyond the 12 weeks that they're here. So essentially, all of our startup founders, after they graduate from our program, get an additional 3 months of flight testing time on our test range. And so, as the unmanned aerial and robotic systems industry continues to grow and expand, it is our goal to work with the state of Oregon, our partners and sponsors, to create really a tech innovation cluster to support businesses in the sector at all stages of development. Working with Business Oregon and other state entities, our reach will expand to a wider range of innovators and entrepreneurs through these initiatives. So first, we are expanding our accelerator with a sector-focused cohort. And what we call an SFC cohort mean? It's a 12-week industry-driven program where industry comes to us and brings us problems to be solved. Typically, how Accelerator works, you have 5 innovators who are trying to solve, in their minds, what they think is a problem. But in this case, industry brings us solutions. We bring them the founders who are solving these problems. In addition to this, to our Accelerator program, I'm proud to announce 2 new programs. We will be launching Ignite Oregon, and this is a mentorship-driven virtual incubator for early-stage founders in our industry. Participants receive hands-on business and technical support, access to labs, and a clear articulation pathway into our main accelerator. This is about building the next generation of Oregon innovators from the ground up. And the logic behind this is we have many, many applicants that come to us. Many are too early for our accelerator program. But rather than say, you're too early, goodbye, good luck, we know that if we do that, the chances of us reaching those innovators are probably very slim. So why not keep them in the funnel? Why not provide them with the support they need in hopes that they'll get to a stage where they'll be great fits for our accelerator program? In addition to that, we'll be introducing Oasis. And Oasis is a new soft landing program for international and out-of-state companies. It's a 6 to 12 week, in close coordination with Business Oregon. We help these firms set up in Oregon, navigating business formation, regulatory hurdles, talent recruitment, which, giving them priority access to the Pendleton UAS test range doesn't hurt. Not only does this grow our ecosystem, but it brings new jobs and foreign direct investment to our state. So with these additional programs, sector-focused cohorts, the Ignite Incubator, and Oasis, we're really creating a seamless landing to launch journey for our innovators. Our partners, mentors, and investors are essential in making this vision a reality, and we invite you to join us in shaping the future of unmanned systems in Oregon. And so, without further ado, I'm very, very thrilled to introduce Kara Toronto. She's a friend. She's also the president and executive director of the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, which I am a volunteer board member of their organization. Kara, along with Riley, wherever you are, have worked tirelessly at coordinating these events on our behalf. And what we plan to do is make this the most impactful investor event in Eastern Oregon. So let's give a round of applause for Oregon Entrepreneurs Network. We could not have done this without them. And so, as I said, Kara has graciously agreed to be our MC for this evening, and she'll be introducing our judges and startups shortly. And remember, after the last pitch, you'll be able to access a QR code that you'll be able to vote for your People's Choice Award for the best pitch. So be ready for that QR code to pop up, scan it with your phone, and vote. So with that, thank you. And I'd like to hand this over to Kara. I'm going to use the mic. Okay. You're welcome.
Go ahead. Why don't you call for this and so that my hair is not in the lapel mic so that you cannot hear me. So thank y'all so much for having us here. Love the warm introduction. And for a quick second, I'm just going to say something that's not on the script. If you don't know what the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network is, oh, I'm going to get Mike still. We are a nonprofit that has been supporting early stage, innovative, highly scalable companies across the state for 35 years. And when we say supporting, we mean connecting them to investors. And so Joseph asked us to do this last year. And I owe a debt of gratitude to Joseph and Steve Chrisman and the city of Pendleton, because this has allowed OEN to have an Eastern Oregon board member for, I think, the first time ever. And it has also created a model where we, as a staff of 4 individuals on a very small budget, are doing work through partners or with entrepreneurs in 30 of Oregon's 36 counties. And this is a state that's 96,000 square miles. So we appreciate you. So round of applause to the entire city and the team out here at the UAS. And I will add on to his Oasis expansion. OEN only supports companies that are based here in Oregon. So if you move here, we are also available to support and introduce you to our investor community. That's it. My economic development hat is off. Welcome to the Pendleton Innovator Showcase. It is such a pleasure to see so many enthusiastic faces here at the Wild Horse Resort and Casino. Today, we gather not just to witness pitches, but to celebrate the incredible journey of innovation and entrepreneurship unfolding right here in Pendleton. For the past 12 weeks, this groundbreaking program has been training startups from around the world, providing a comprehensive support system, including non-dilutive funding, expert mentorship, and access to world-class testing facilities here in Pendleton. Through this collaborative ecosystem, the accelerator is enabling participants to rapidly develop and commercialize cutting-edge UAS solutions, positioning Oregon as a hub for UAS innovation. As the president and executive director of OEN, it is really an honor to be a part of this event and to support the Oregon UAS team in their inspirational work. So you're going to witness the culmination of these startups' hard work as each company presents an 8-minute pitch showcasing their progress. Their timer is up here. There will be nothing embarrassing that ding. So if it goes over 8 minutes, give them a moment of grace. These founders have been immersed in key areas such as technical development, business strategy, investor readiness, regulatory compliance, and commercialization support. So we'll be here for these pitches until about 4:30 or whenever they end. But I've heard that you can start getting drinks around 4 and the food is on the table. So feel free to eat and drink and make yourself comfortable as we dive into these exciting presentations. And I don't know if you've noticed the giant belt buckles over here to draw your attention. To add an element of friendly competition, 2 prestigious awards are up for grabs. They are coveted belt buckles that will accompany them. So we're going to have the People's Choice Award, which is determined by you, our audience, through a mobile voting system, and that's the QR code that Joseph was referring to, and the Judges Award, selected by our esteemed panel of judges based on criteria developed by the UAS Accelerator team. And speaking of judges, I get to introduce them. First, Deepthi Madhava, Oregon Venture Fund and investor in resident, and one of my friends. Deepthi is a partner at Oregon Venture Fund, the region's largest early stage investor focused on backing startups in Oregon and Southern Washington. Before entering venture capital, Deepthi spent over a decade in global leadership and consulting roles at Deloitte, advising Deloitte internal teams and Fortune 1000 companies on business model innovation, go-to-market strategy, and product investment roadmaps. She now brings that experience to her work with entrepreneurs, helping them to scale their companies with clarity and discipline. Deepthi holds an MBA from the Indian School of Business and a bachelor's degree in computer engineering. Please join me in welcoming Deepthi. It is also my pleasure to introduce Shashi Jain, someone else I get to call a friend. Shashi is a Portland-based entrepreneur, innovation leader, and venture partner at the Portland Seed Fund, where he invests in deep tech startups across the Pacific Northwest. With a background as senior strategic innovation manager at Intel, Shashi has pioneered applications in healthcare, AI for space, and blockchain. He is recognized for developing practical frameworks, including the KPI Compass, Decision Quality Canvas, and Startup Ladder that help organizations build and measure innovation programs. Beyond his corporate work, Shashi teaches entrepreneurship to high school students through TIE Oregon, mentors early stage founders, and serves on the board of the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum. His upcoming book, The 100 Coffees Project, explores the power of authentic connection in the entrepreneurial journey. Shashi is passionate about turning bold ideas into real-world impact and building the next generation of innovators. Round of applause for Shashi. And lastly, Jim Gochi. Jim is an entrepreneur and investor with over 30 years in the software industry. Most recently, he was the CEO of an incident management company called Blameless, and prior to that, he was the chief product officer of New Relic. Jim lives in Portland, Oregon, and I didn't call him my friend because he is my husband, and he did write in his bio that he lives with his amazing wife and their little dog, Toby. So for fun, Jim likes to drink wine and ski, though not always on the same day. I think it's more appropriate to say not always at the same time. Round of applause for Jim Gochi. And that's it. Now you get to see the real show. So this is the way things get started here in Pendleton. So let her buck. And now it is my honor to start introducing these innovators. So Morgan Geospatial, presented by Morgan Bryan. Morgan's going to come up here. Oh, I was like, where is? I was like, I talked to Morgan. And then you get this. And then you will get this too.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here. My name is Brian Morgan, and I am the founder and president of Morgan Geospatial. We are working on a revolutionizing high-speed vertical takeoff and landing UAVs. And I'm excited to share that with you. For reference, the airplane you see pictured here is about a 5-foot wingspan and can go exceed 100 miles an hour of speed. And that's one of the advantages of our system design. There are other VTOL capable aircraft out there in UAS. Vertical takeoff and landing is what that stands for. There are some inherent issues and restrictions with their designs, though. One of the biggest ones is a dangerous transition. And that is really particularly referring to the bottom left aircraft there. It's 2 rotors and they tilt to affect the transition from hover to forward flight. And during that transition of tilting those rotors, there's a dangerous time when the lift forces holding up the plane are minimal and they're not quite flying on the wing yet. And that has proven to be a very challenging time for that flight, for that mode of flight. They're typically slower and have less range. There's no real VTOL or redundancy during the VTOL operation. They all have exposed rotor tips or rotors of some sort. And as a result of a lot of those things, they have higher operating costs. Our solution solves all of those issues. We don't have a dangerous transition zone. We have dual systems on board, one for lift and one for forward flight. It has higher speed and longer range, this design. It has enhanced safety and redundancy inherent in its design as a fixed wing aircraft. It does not have any exposed rotors, as you can see from that view there. And because of that, can have reduced operating costs. How it works, there's the dual systems I mentioned. As you can see, starting from left to right, the airflow diagram under the aircraft is showing that the vertical flight system is lifting the aircraft for takeoff and stabilization during hover. Once the autopilot or pilot feeds in forward thrust, shown by the second pictures in horizontal flight, the lift system does not just shut off, it stays engaged until the aircraft is flying on the wings, and then is allowed to shut down. So there's no time that this aircraft is unsupported in one manner or another. And similar for landing. The aircraft is not allowed to slow until the lift system is spun up again and able to support the aircraft. Here's a quick real life scenario for you for numbers and comparison. Obviously, VTOLs, helicopters are available. They are used for police chases a lot. Comparing a 40-minute police chase aided by a helicopter, typically a 10 to 15-minute implementation time for manned aircraft. The high speed chase ensues, often endangering the public and others as the helicopter is trying to spotlight the thing, and and they're trying to radio back to the police. It's a very precarious situation, and the total cost of operating that manned helicopter for just that 40 minutes is $4,600. Now imagine having a drone or a few drones in a municipality strategically placed, immediately being able to be implemented, 45 seconds to take off and start tracking, let the well-dressed criminal get away, think he got away, reporting back his location and statistics, of course, to the police station the whole time. And the cost of that 40-minute flight of just the drone system is only about $150. So a lot more cost effective. What I've been doing here at the accelerator is learning the flight control system and automation piece to bring these aircraft to fruition. We've been flying the aircraft manually for years as we've developed and perfected the aerodynamics. And now it's time to marry that with the flight control system and the autopilots that are available today. And so we did. We got to do that, start that here with lots of help from fellow cohort members and some other, and the cohort itself and mentors. And we have been able to install one of the flight systems and begin hover testing and fine tuning. And that was the goal in coming here, was for myself and my future team, to be familiar with these new flight control systems. I do have patent protection on these aircraft. I was the original awardee of this particular configuration for the prior art for a fixed wing enclosed rotor system for VTOL. I have three other subsequent patents for flight control and slow speed and maneuverability, which is all important for the transition parts of the flight. And I am preparing a couple more patents as we speak to move on with. Here's a quick comparison chart with similarly sized other drones that are out there. And as you can see, none of them check all the boxes. They don't have the ultimate high speed. All of them have some sort of exposed rotors or tips. They don't have the elimination of the dangerous transition. All of them. Some of them are partial tilt rotors, and then they don't have the ability to minimize the reduced operating costs in that case. The total addressable market for just VTOL drones in general globally exceeded $6 billion already in 2024 and is expected to exceed 23 in the next few years. The addressable or available market, which is more focused in the US on high-speed VTOL drones, is still 678 million, as missions and FAA continues to approve BVLOS or beyond visual line of sight type missions. And the obtainable market that will be easily be able to service is $51 million is even more focused on truly having a 2 to 4x range type aircraft with high speed and have autonomous and quick deployment as well. How I'm going to move the company through this growth is with already existing early adopters. We have conversations going on with SOCOM, with some other drone manufacturers like AVX and sheriff's departments to talk about this police mission. And also even the hobby world. There's a hobby company that's interested in white labeling this as a hobby model as well. And we'll move through the military missions and maritime security missions and eventually into civil world, Bible and missionary work, mapping and survey, which other drones do already as well today, which we'll enhance with our long range and speed. This next graphic just kind of shows as I add those different markets and sales, how we're going to continue to grow the company over the next 5 years. And then just a quick review of that and showing the kind of the key takeaways. we'll be, because of where we are and the success of the airframe, cash flow positive in year one already, steadily increasing value over the years as we add all of those different customers and applications and mission sets to the project. Quick timeline for review. As I mentioned, we've been flying these airframes manually for several years. We've done CFD, we've worked with NASA, and have ongoing conversations right now with Raytheon, RTX and RMD divisions, and also AFWorks. And we're here now. We've learned the flight control systems. I'm super excited about that and marrying those to these airframes to create these mission capable aircraft. And we're here raising $3.5 million to grow this company. This quick use of funds here, we're going to use some R&D to freeze these designs and have the 4 offerings of ready to go packages, turnkey packages for our customers. We're going to, of course, increase our sales and marketing efforts and really hit the valid, industry shows. And of course, build up our actual operations and production capabilities so we're ready to deliver these things within 18 months. A little bit about the team. Myself, I have led 4 previous aerospace companies and teams. My senior aerodynamicist, Dr. Sinwa Sway, is in the nation's top 3 CFD analyst, and he's a primary advisor and on our board. Dr. Ken Rosen is a former executive director of Sikorsky Aircraft and my principal aircraft design advisor. And he has more people on his team, Dr. Sway, and then my principal mechanical advisor and consultant is Mr. Kevin Wright. So here it is. I'm excited to be sharing this with you. A $3.5 million investment opportunity to help us bring these faster, safer VTOLs to market and do so many different missions. And if you're wondering what happened to that criminal, in the time it took me to give you this presentation, we have tracked him, we've reported back his position, and now he's in cuffs and not so happy. So we took care of him too. That's it. Thank you guys. And I think we have time for questions. Okay.
You can time for the question from the audience. When I knew you would raise your hand. Okay, so talk about the operating costs for that scenario for thinking $104.
Yeah.
So talk about how you charge for the product. We say what would that cost in the police department? It's just an example. Front
Yeah.
and if like any operator, like what is that?
Yeah. Well, so several things there. I did have a couple more points in there, but I was trying to keep the slides moving. So yeah, the cost of acquisition is no small thing. A manned helicopter that is typically used in a police situation is a $1 to $2 million aircraft, plus pilots, plus maintenance crew, plus the space at the airport to house it. They're not always on site on a helipad at the police station per se, and not that they would need to be. So so a $2 million acquisition versus this fully equipped police version of mine would be something like $55,000 to $65,000, depending on the exact equipment used. If it's going to be rooftop launched or it will be a rolled out and launch type thing. But the rooftop scenario is much more attractive in terms of speed. They can get the radio call, fire the thing up. It's kind of sitting there waiting. It's sitting in its garage, if you will, charged, ready to go. So that's I've spoken with several departments that have a drone. They use today's Autel drones and typical quadcopters for search and rescue and so on. So I know they just told me the typical salary and hourly rates for those guys that are in the drone department of the police department, and it's similar pay, but a little bit more because of the high tech. So that's where those numbers come from, is 40 minutes of that rate and I assumed a couple guys, and it really only needs to be one guy. That's the operator of the drone and tracking and then relaying the drone's information to the ground force that's ready to go get the guy.
So for your business model, you just sell the drone or any other service fees that you charge?
No, we sell the drone package as a turnkey system, and of course provide training and service and recommended maintenance. But our business model is selling the hardware, but as a turnkey, functional, easy to use system that the police can easily adopt to.
Is any of it included in the unmanned services?
Yes, that's part of the overall package. And it's, I hesitate to turn that into a subscription type thing. So it's going to be more like a 5-year warranty type thing. And we know that the hardware we're supplying with the drone in terms of batteries, charging equipment, and all those types of things are geared toward, that being a minimum requirement.
I had a question on bringing this to market. You already identify the markets that you would sell to, right? What's your plan? Like, where are you starting?
I'm going to start with the police mission. Yeah. And no, we don't have, I will be doing this, for the first time upon, funding and growth is growing the team, growing those marketing efforts. And I have connections to a few places. And I mentioned SOCOM and some police municipalities and also California Forest. I think I didn't say that out loud, but California Forest Preserve and AVX is an existing drone company in Texas that's in fact waiting for me to come down and present to them after I'm done with this program here. Mhm. All right. Thank you.
David, I'm like, I wonder how long they built it and how much money the O.J. Simpson chase took.
Oh my goodness.
And there's people in this room that are too young to probably know what I'm talking about. All right, with that, let's bring up, I think I'm gonna get this right, Accelerator Aeroworks and Steve Carlson. Steve, join us here. Hi. Put this on. And you can that little button. Okay.
To start it.
Turn it just a gentle touch. That'll be green. And you put this on. There you go. You got a timer going.
Okay.
And so,
Cool. I've got a timer here. Thank you, Morgan, thank you, Brian, for your presentation. And thank you for having me here. So again, I'm Steve Carlson, and I'm a PhD student at University of Nevada, Reno. I'll be showing you a little bit about my aircraft here, which is the Lazen Solar VTOL. So this is an aircraft that will be able to perform aerial inspection and survey missions faster, further, and smarter. So a little bit about long linear survey. So there are thousands of miles of long linear infrastructure in the United States, such as railways, borders, power transmission lines, oil and gas. In particular, in oil and gas, that is usually required by law to be inspected once per year, if not many more times per year. And much of that work is accomplished by manned aviation, which is expensive and incurs a human pilot and the associated safety risks. In the past decade, there's been a little bit of dabbling using unmanned systems to explore that space, but it still is essentially a manned process because you have to have, say, 3 guys in a pickup truck with the multicopter, and they have to trundle along in the wilderness and then launch the quadcopter or fixed wing of some kind. It goes, it performs the mission, but it has to come back and land where it was launched from. And in the end of the day, it's sensitive to the weather, it's sensitive to other issues that really make it harder to use in a long linear survey. So behold the SV5 Lazen. This guy is a solar recharging aircraft. That means it doesn't have to have a charging station. It doesn't have to have someone go replace and then put back in the battery. This thing is VTOL, which means it's able to take off and land vertically. That's the acronym, vertical takeoff and landing. So this can hover just like a helicopter. And it's waterproof, such that not only can this launch off of a dry substrate, but it can also land on a lake or even on the ocean. And finally, this aircraft here is only $10,000 per aircraft. It's about 12-foot wingspan. 16 pounds is the base weight, plus about 1 pound of payload. It can fly for 40 minutes without solar cell assistance, but if you do have solar cell recharging capability on this, it can fly for a total of 6 hours per day or 135 miles within that day. This is what the day in the life of the Lazen looks like. It's going to fly along a pipeline using cameras and a gas sniffing sensor to collect and forward data via cell or satellite link to a collection database back on corporate in real time. So when the aircraft battery is low, the aircraft is able to land at any one of several predetermined landing sites, which can be right along the pipeline or, say, in a lake or some little clearing somewhere. When the aircraft has recharged itself over the course of maybe an hour that day, or if it has to hibernate overnight to the next day, it doesn't matter. It will take off and resume where it left off and continue surveying the pipeline for hundreds and hundreds of miles. Here I have a picture of what's called the Gannet. It's a precursor project I've been working on, and last year this aircraft was able to go 30 miles over the course of 3 days at a lake in Nevada. This is the Lazen. Here on May 24th of this year, so just last Saturday, doing the very first forward flight here at the Pendleton test range. So with the Lazen, I've been able to conduct a lot of hover testing inside this amazing hangar that we have here in Pendleton. And again, this is the forward flight. You can see the transition forward flight. And as I continue to speak here, you may be able to see this do its landing. So the plan here is that during the summer, we would like to return to perform the oil or gas pipeline inspection mission along the northern section of the flight test range. That would be with the aircraft patrolling approximately 24 miles in a circuit. The landing zones shown here are preliminary or predetermined areas where if the aircraft runs on battery, it will be able to land, recharge, and then continue flying again. Half tempted to allow this to go to the landing. Let's let it get to the landing here. So you can see it's coming in, getting a little bit slower, slower, and you see those nacelles have turned up, and it is now in a hover landing, and there it goes. So as far as the IP protections that we have, the engineering artwork and software, such as the power management stack, the aircraft design, and other IP are retained and proprietary. We will continue to work on the hardware and software that we will always be ahead of the competitors, essentially. And we'll always be adding new features and capabilities, such as landing in unimproved areas, such as more dense forest or lake moorings or other interesting capabilities that we have in mind. So far as what the market of this aircraft is, the total or global market for just oil and gas pipeline inspection is up to $10 billion. Domestically, this is about $1 billion. And if we constrain for just the transmission and gathering pipelines in the United States that are outside of restricted airspace, in the next 5 years, the Sipiter Airworks will accumulate 1 million miles of pipeline surveyed, yielding $20 million of revenue. Our initial business model is to offer the fleet of aircraft as a service, with inspection customers paying for access to survey flights and data. Accipiter Aeroworks will also assume logistics and operations of the fleet, but later, Accipiter Aero will be able to provide aircraft for sale to the final operator, such that our income would come from the service and maintenance and training and software licensing for our customers. Now, as far as the competitive landscape, you may be familiar with the idea of a drone in a box. That is essentially an unattended multicopter that lives in something the size of a barbecue grill, which, while it's unattended, it can only fly a limited range before it has to return to the box. And it's not necessarily going to be something you operate in the wilderness very easily. The 3 guys in the pickup truck or drone survey team are not quite unattended. It's requiring human operators, but at least that can go operate out in the wilderness. But it still is going to be something that has to launch and land back to the guys who launched and had to attend it. And then as far as manned aviation, that's going to be expensive, and it also is essentially tied to a fixed operating base. Only Accipiter Aeroworks with the SV5 Lazen is able to show with solar recharging that we can perform an unattended, off-road, untethered, while being able to hover, cheaper mission system that can go further and perform better missions. As far as the market strategies, we will hire a commercial development team to work on building relationships with the established players in the market. And our strategy will be to establish a contract for a pilot project using our aircraft on a particular section of pipeline in a consistent patrol cycle. As we gain experience and improve the technology, this pilot project will be expanded or duplicated. And after accumulating enough connections and contracts, the goal is to obtain a subscription or a retainer-based contract with one or more of the larger players, and eventually expand to larger or other domains such as scientific or defense. So far here, we have a few years of research where we've been able to demonstrate migratory missions of this sort. So previously, we were able to do just 10 miles in 24 hours and then be able to do 30 miles in 72 hours. And then we've been able to prototype the Lazen here. Our ask is for $2 million to start doing product development. And as we go through 2026, 2027, we will expand and turn a profit in 2028 as we develop and increase in their experience. By 2030, we can offer a return on the initial investment, probably through a merger and acquisition, as merited or required. The 5-year projection here assumes a single round in the near term and breaking even in 2028. The pro forma is in 5 years, we will have a fleet size of roughly 200 aircraft surveying 1 million miles. And this is the breakdown. As far as half of our initial injection will be for product development. As far as the team, I am the CTO or CEO, but I would like to exit to a CTO position such that we have someone running the actual business day to day, including our C-suite of CRO, CFO, and so forth. And we also have positions, or we'll be looking for contract engineers and contract test technicians. Again, thank you. Our goal is to make long linear inspection truly unmanned with unattended operation, collecting data in the wild with unlimited range and unlocking the potential to survey anything. Thank you.
Questions?
Very fair presentation, but I would say
So for the wall, I assume the water landing because those are landing spots in forested area. So those you couldn't be able to land in the water, it's a resting place.
Correct.
One plane, if you land on a body of water and they're nice to land, they can't provide it well to the shore.
Yes. So there's two ways you can solve that. You can allow it to get blown to shore, or you can have, say, an automated repositioning behavior such that will push itself back to the center of the lake or slightly upwind. Or a third way that I alluded to is to have a lake mooring such that you can have the site manicured to a degree where there's a mooring bobble there that the aircraft is able to locate and then latch onto.
You mentioned it was 4 or 5 involved. Customers like solve.
So as far as long linear inspection, the main thing I'll focus on is cost. For doing, say, a manned helicopter or a manned airplane, it's going to cost you several dozen, maybe even on the order of $100 an hour for what is essentially just taking pictures of the easement area along both sides of the pipeline. So I'll try to say cost is the primary factor. I can talk at length over at the booth here. I have a few other items that might answer the question for you.
I had a question on your exit options here. You mentioned the potential acquisitions. Who could be potential acquirers?
So we might have, say, one of the larger players might want to own us outright, or if we have a larger UAS company that wants to acquire us as well. That's one option, I believe.
Thank you.
So the way I understand this is it's autonomous completely for the entirety of like a survey or pipeline, right?
Correct.
No one's monitoring it. It just does it all on its own.
There is in the the conceptual operations diagram, we did cut out some detail that shows you could have an Iridium link or you can have a cell phone link going through that. I think I may have mentioned cell phone and Iridium in that blurb there. So you can have command and control through those two different links. Starlink is another one that might be coming up soon that we could use. So that would allow you to have mostly or near real-time monitoring of the aircraft.
Okay. You mentioned it's the closely connected larger machines completely autonomous.
Correct, yes.
How like how long will they or ground and stuff that? Is that a lot of software to develop? Or how do you feel that in building?
As long as you have a pre-selected or a dictionary of safe landing sites, and if you can assume that the aircraft can always access those sites correctly, then it's really just a GPS integrity issue. If you lose GPS, that's an academic problem, I suppose, where you have now dead reckoning. But as long as you have GPS, the aircraft should be able to take off and land. And that's been demonstrated in previous, I can show you there at the booth, we can take off and land off of water fairly consistently and off of land pretty well. So as far as navigating through the air, there is, I guess you can say, the see and avoid systems that people are looking at, and there's making other perception systems for pop-up threats, or maybe there was a branch that wasn't there before. And those are all systems that industry is working on that we can incorporate in the aircraft if needed.
Now they're working with three guys, and I think I've talked to anything but the drone operating machine. It's nice. All right. Now we bring up.
Ready?
I'm ready, but I don't have your name.
No, this is not me.
Where's your
I gave up too soon.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm happy we're going to do. Okay, now. Maxwell, when you have British Congress in here and I can't see it that small.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. All right, thank you for coming out. I'm going to try to get through this without losing my voice. This is 3 Autonomy LLC. I'm Maxwell Anderson. I founded this company here in Pendleton, Oregon. I am from Pendleton, Oregon. We build drones in Pendleton, Oregon. We are rebuilding American autonomy and unmanned systems in manufacturing. Why are we doing this? Because we have, is the mic not on?
Is it green?
It's red.
You gotta.
Hello.
There you go.
There we go. Hey. Well, just to summarize, why are we building drones out here? Why am I building drones at all? We've got an adversarial nation that is executing military exercises simulating a blockade of Taiwan on a regular basis in the South China Sea. Taiwan manufactures about 50% of our semiconductors globally and is the sole source for the more advanced process nodes. This nation also has expansion on its mind, making illegal claims to territory in the South China Sea that violates the exclusive economic zone of multiple neighboring nations, Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei. Their territory should extend 200 nautical miles off the coastline there. Why is that a problem? Well, that same nation controls about 90% of the United States drone industry. In the commercial and consumer segments, you see actually commercial and enterprise applications reaches 90%. Only 10% of those drones are made in the United States or other nations. Now this places core American industry at risk. We've got agriculture, law enforcement, emergency response, utilities and infrastructure, etc., that have come to depend on this core critical technology. Now, thankfully, we have a congressional mandate in the form of NDAA legislation that is changing the dynamic. This means that these systems, when purchased with federal dollars, must be purchased from friendly or, I suppose, allied nations or American sources. So the solution is pretty straightforward. We reshore UAS component manufacturing. Now that's a big task, right? But 3 Autonomy's core focus here is going to be developing affordable UAS platforms, components and subsystems in order to build a hardware ecosystem of interoperable components. And this is all intended to build a secure domestic supply chain, which is the intent of the NDAA legislation. Our technology and what we've executed on at the test range and the accelerator is 3 AK-01 Mosquito, a utility quad rotor and development platform with 5 kilograms of nominal lift, 20 kilograms available thrust, open source compute, and swap-C optimized. It's ready for your applications. We can tailor it to the customer's needs. It's fully NDAA compliant. Lessons learned were applied to what I'm proud to introduce as 3 AK-02 Kata, an exercise in form, intelligent attrition. It's man-portable at 1 kilogram, features onboard compute, highly configurable, and fully NDAA compliant. Now, I've purpose-built this platform to take down to Houston, that AUVSI Exponential. I needed something I could fit in my backpack. This guy folds up very cleanly. As far as the remainder of the technology, we're looking at ground control solutions, running on open source software for application development and just the platform operation at large. Component stack, really the core of the drone, what makes the drone do drone things. Flight controllers, compute carriers, and electronic speed controllers, as well as a lowrider solution, which is a novel 2.4 gigahertz data link, 2 megabits per second at 2 kilometers. For business model, the core of our business model is the vertical integration of key processes. Long term, we're looking to become an OEM electronics operation, leveraging lean manufacturing methodology to ensure ownership of product and process. In my experience, this is the only way to guarantee quality at cost. Based on our product offering, we're going to have multiple revenue streams, leveraging a high and low mix of high margin, lower volume UAS platforms, as well as the lower margin, higher volume components. To market, and I'll get to this first part in later slides, lithium pack integration is going to be our fastest path to revenue. And initially, we're going to be leveraging low initial CapEx opportunities to drive sustainable growth in revenue. I don't really want to come out here and build a $2 million factory and make the wrong bet and waste your money, right? We're going to find the products that are in demand. We're going to assemble it here in Pendleton, and we're going to make them work for the customer. After that, our UAS family of systems and OEM electronics establish a feedback where we essentially become our own customer. Ultimately, this is bigger than UAS. The core technologies are transferable to other industries. I mean, unmanned systems at large, air, ground, and sea platforms all use the same hardware stack. General robotics, any factory with automation in it, uses similar components. Smart devices, Internet of Things, traditional military, aerospace, and defense, all the above. Which leads us to our market opportunity. It's relatively large. Our serviceable obtainable market in just unmanned aircraft systems in 2025 is $35 billion. That grows to 100 million by 2035. Ultimately, looking at the entire opportunity of building at the component level and taking that to market, a total addressable market of 100 billion in 2025 grows to $500 billion by 2035. Now, who's our competition? Well, we're building drones. It must be the other platform OEMs, right? Not necessarily. They become our customers as we build the essential components that they need to get in the air and stay in the air. 3 Autonomy will be positioned upstream as a component OEM. And in competition with the incumbent OEMs, we leverage the advantage of in-house electronics assembly that helps us cut costs, maintain margins, and deliver value to market. A customer engagement. I want to note here that mention on this slide does not imply any kind of relationship or sponsorship, endorsement, etc. We have been approached by individuals from these organizations, Army National Guard, Nav Air Systems, and US SOCOM, interested in our credible platforms. We'll be following up on those relationships next month. Industry engagement. Numerous AI out of Seattle, Washington has donated several hardware stacks for their advanced compute that we will be integrating with our solutions to explore more advanced behaviors and sensor packages. Doodle Labs has offered preferred pricing on initial orders. And Amprius Technologies, famous for their silicon anode battery technology, has offered us preferred pricing that we will be taking to retail by integrating their cells and making available. It might surprise you to learn that we just started this company in 2024 in December. Within 3 months, we were selected for the Oregon UAS Accelerator spring cohort, of which we were the first to fly this April. And we went to one of the largest unmanned systems trade shows in, I think, the world, AUVSI Exponential 2025 in Houston. Now, that might seem aggressive. It is. You should contact reality as quickly as possible. Find out what's actually working. We are seeking $1.5 million in seed. I'll get to that. And looking forward, we're going to be building out our production capabilities in order to offer these products, not just to market, but also being co-located with the UAS test range in Pendleton, NPI and prototyping services for those range clients. Our revenue, depending on funding, depends on our capabilities that we can actually attain this kind of stuff. But you'll see the main market strategy is actually components versus drones. And that's where we're seeing the market heading, is people are looking for interoperable systems that they can fit together to fit their use case. So 3 Autonomy's current investment ask is $1.5 million in working capital. And this helps us address our initial CapEx demands to reach full rate production by 2026, which includes facilities, equipment, and staff. There's things like, insurance and compliance and all of that. They're usually smaller. So who's the team? Well, it's me. I'm Maxwell Anderson. I'm the founder, CEO. I've got over a decade of experience in electronics manufacturing, IT infrastructure, and application development. Made me well suited to this industry. Mr. Ryan Kemper is our senior advisor. He's a master's of science in electrical engineering as well as project management. And Dax Lynch has been an incredible contributor as a software engineering intern with the Accelerator, the Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science. Thank you, Dax. We are looking for help. Of course, we need people at every layer of the stack: hardware, firmware, software, finance, sales and marketing and outreach, as well as people on the ground doing the process work. So ultimately, this is difficult. It's not impossible. When I applied to the accelerator, I was characterized as a solo founder with an ambitious timeline. And that's true. Pendleton is the home of the Doolittle raid. 4 months, they went from concept to execution to 30 seconds over Tokyo, B-25s off an aircraft carrier. And I think we can do the same. Pendleton is home to the future of aviation. Thank you for your time.
Marks for using, and I think we need to produce T-shirts about why Pendleton for this industry.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
questions? Does the need for NDAA compliance restrict you to just US government, or would you sell it globally?
Correct. For the NDAA compliance market, that is specifically targeting federal programs or people who have contractors within that program. Now, we could make products available internationally, depending on that market, but it becomes much harder to compete against entrenched companies like DJI, et cetera.
So market sizing was just for US.
Right.
Curious about with compliance to NDAA. I'm not sure if you're paying how much it costs you to keep validating, certifying that you're.
It's expensive and time consuming. If there's anybody out there that can build a tool that validates bills of materials for full compliance, they will become rich pretty quickly.
Your model, your rates.
What's that? Once you have a bill of materials set for a certain product, it just becomes kind of like a rollover compliance measure. So, I would imagine it's not worth adding into the raise, right? The amount of time to become compliant, if that's what you're asking, sir.
It's longer conversation.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
I don't really complicate these questions. So other countries are in the same situation that we're in. I'm assuming they're similar hard style from named companies that we don't do business with. So do you think you'll have competitors starting in each of the regions, like your region or so forth? Or do you think it's going to be like, that some of these companies are whole, but they'll sell to each other?
Absolutely. We've got excellent companies out of Europe like Orca. We've got Cube Pilot coming out of Australia. I use a lot of their gear. It's fantastic. ultimately, I think these companies find their competency, and we seek to kind of complement each other as well. So there's plenty of room still in the market for that. Really, I was shocked they didn't ask anything about it. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Oh, shoot. Did this come off?
We did a pack on yesterday, Max wasn't here, so we were just on autopilot. All right.
You're funny. Funny. I'm back. That was short. I think so. Almost. There I am. My name is Jonathan Hunter. I'm the CEO of Z's Defense. We are a AI targeted assist counter UAS solution. I'd like to thank the accelerator for picking us and having us here. I'd like to thank everyone that has shown up to listen to us. We really appreciate it. I know this time and effort to get here. And then lastly, I'd like to thank my engineers who've been here for the 12 weeks and have done an amazing job. I personally have flown in from Warsaw, Poland, where I'm currently residing, supporting a counter US program for NATO ally. One of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to solve a hard problem. So, what's the hard problem? What we're seeing in the Ukraine-Russian war is low-cost Chinese-made drones, usually called FPV, first-person view drones. Some people call them kamikaze drones, roughly around $300, taking out tanks, multi-million-dollar tanks. 80% of the casualties on the battlefield come from these drones, right? The FPV drones. And the economies of war isn't adding up, right? A $300 drone taking out $5-6 million tank, you can't win, right? So what do? You got to go into the Walmart or war mentality, right? You've got to fight the low cost, affordable solution with low cost, affordable countermeasures. Currently, the countermeasures on the battlefield roughly around $2 to $3 million, and they're more of a strategical emplacement at FOBs and COBs, forward operating bases and company operating bases, and they're not necessarily tactical down with the warfighter. So what we're trying to do is create something that's more tactical. And what does that mean? We're looking at portable, affordable, always on. Passive is key. So what we're finding out in the Ukraine conflict is that when you put on your radar systems, it's very active. When you put on your RF transmission, your jammers, it's very active. Well, guess what happens? Within about 10 minutes, you have 155 or 152 rounds coming down on your head. It's not a fun day. So we have to be passive. We're looking for the autonomy, the targeting AI assist, which is going to be very beneficial for you. In order to get the defense in depth, in other words, greater coverage, we are looking to do distributed network systems. And then it's got to be cost effective, right? I cannot fight a $300 drone with a $3 million countermeasure. So what we've come up with, right, is essentially an acoustic LiDAR-based system. The acoustic is very passive, right? We're not rendering an image from the LiDAR, so we're using blips in order to get refined targeting solutions. We are using AI powered, and you can see a demonstration with the simulated data back in the back room there. It is going to be portable. We are going to have a distributed network capability within it, and then it will send a firing solution to a gimbal kinetic mitigation, right? Basically a bullet going down range. What we've learned here at Pendleton is great. This is one of the great opportunities of Pendleton was just concentrated effort, both our remote engineers and the engineers that have been here. Things we've learned is how to collect the data has been huge, especially for our AI engine that we're building out right now. We've been able to develop a synthetic simulated data that exceeded our expectations. Our approach is going to allow for the massive data scaling, because this is what you need when you do this targeting AI assist. You build out your AI engine, you need to be able to collect the data. Instead of flying 1 million hours of actual drone, right? We are simulating that flying in a AI engine. And then we've validated and verified our data structure. We have a path forward to scalability and an actual product. Business model is simple. We're selling systems, right? That's the first thing. I've done this before in electronic warfare. I've sold 10,000 systems to the U.S. Marine Corps back in 2007 at the height of the Iraq War. Right, you do that by working with these customers right here. Specifically, we've already put it in an application with the Army Application Lab, and they're very interested in this approach that we're taking. We have ongoing conversations with essentially 10 focused customers and clients. We are not selling to 1 million clients or customers. I don't have to go and search who I'm selling this product to. I know exactly by name, by office, who they are. Right, and then we have our software annual data, selling data as another secondary revenue stream. The programs exist, right? Counter US programs exist. So we have that relationship with the business to business, right? We can sell into Andril, who has a program of record. We also, Northrop Grumman and the other companies that have current programs ongoing. And basically it's an engineering change request, would go in, add this functionality to your system. The other is the government itself. And we look to do program of records by 2027 as we currently build and develop the capabilities with the clients and customers. This is the market opportunity. As you can see, targeting assist AI is a $15 billion total addressable market right now. The SAM is $5 billion. This focuses just on AI within the Department of Defense. And with the counter UAS, it's a $150 million market right now. One of the things we do know is Defense is buying and investing in AI technologies, right? And this is one of the spaces we believe they will buy. We know that because they tripled their budget within the AI investment from 2022 to 2023. This is the competitive landscape. We have many different multi-sensor systems that are out there. These are some of the bigger players that have program of records. They have the radars, they have the jammers, they have spoofers, they have all that good stuff, right? But what they don't have is portability, right? Affordability. They're very strategic in nature, right? So they don't have the ability to be everywhere across the battlefield. And we believe this is our advantage. Milestone timelines. Well, we created the company last year. We're here in Oregon. We're doing very well so far. We're looking for a $3 million raise, and that would allow us to expand the product capabilities to scale what we've learned here, build out the AI infrastructure that will enable us to actually progress the AI targeting assist at a faster rate, simulate the data that we can do, and then automate all the testing that's going to be required. We believe that within the next 6 months, we'll have a US DoD contract for development, right? And then we'll go into 2027. Once we have that finalized first MVP product, we'll start selling, develop a pipeline. And then 2028, we believe this, either a strategic will acquire us or we'll have to take growth capital to expand our capabilities. This is our 5-year projections. We start small, but we grow fast, right? And the reason for this is, we're realistically speaking, we will probably get a contract. We will get a contract this year with US DoD for the development of this system, right? This is needed. This is required. This is now, right? It takes time. You get 12 months to build your product, and then you start putting it into the different programs within the US DoD and also in NATO, which currently I have a great target of opportunity within NATO, within Poland for the counter US program. We can insert this system into that program. And then you're doing your LRIP 1 and your LRIP 2, and large scale manufacturing will go out here. And by that time, most likely you will be either acquired or you'll be playing with, bigger capital investors to bring in that bigger money. Here's what we're going to spend it on. $3 million is basically product, AI engine, sales, and marketing, right? Those are 3 areas that we need to focus in on over the next 12 to 18 months. This is your team. I've been doing counterterrorism for 27 years. I've been deployed to war zones 7 times. I have taken a counter US company public. I've raised $33 million before. I've generated a product that sold and is now still in existence. And now I've brought these guys on here. This gentleman, the CTO, that's currently been a friend and a colleague in my last company for the last 10 years. We know each other very well. We know how to work together. And then again, why us? We're the team with the experience. We've got the scars to prove it. We have the right product, which is portable and affordable. We're leading the counter UAS technology. We know the market. We know the players by name, who we're going to go knock on the doors to, because we're already there. Thank you again. My name is Jonathan Hunter, Zay's Defense Technology. Thank you.
I have a question on your portability and how it will range.
Yeah.
What is the range?
So the great news is when you do kinetic mitigation, a bullet can only travel so far, right? So your detection using the target and assist AI doesn't have to be a range thing. I'm not shooting a bullet 3 kilometers, right? I'm shooting within 500 meters is where my target's going to most likely appear from. So to answer your question, it's not a range thing for us, right? We believe, we know acoustic sensors right now are getting 3 kilometers, but we think anything with 1 kilometer or shorter is where we're going to be playing at as a tactical system, right?
Thank you.
No problem.
So more just on the product, how many bullets does it hold?
So the bullet is the current platform of crew served weapons within the U.S. DoD inventory will be the system that is used, right? That will go into a gimbal. That gimbal will get a firing solution that will be constantly repeating and updating itself in order for when we're ready to engage the target, then we'll pull that trigger. So we don't actually provide the bullets.
So someone sends it out, they attach the bullet
To a gimbal.
and then it's autonomous. It just starts shooting.
So yes, that would be the idea. Now there is some limitations because US DoD right now will not go full autonomy, right? So you have to have a man in the middle, right? But that fire solution will be there and ready for him when he says fire, right? Now later on in life, depending on who's running the DoD, they may go full autonomy, but right now they will not go full autonomy. Right? Thank you. I believe so, because our plan is the targeting assist AI. It doesn't just is counter US, right? Counter US is the use case, but we believe we can take what we're doing in this and do other things beyond just the US DoD, right? So some of them could be in the medical field. We talked about this too, leveraging that capability to target diseases and with radio spectroscopy. We've done this before when COVID hit. We looked at that, so that was one of the interesting areas that you could do. Right, we chose counter UAS because it is the #1 threat on the battlefield, as demonstrated at the beginning.
Last question: what is like what do people do today to protect against threats?
So right now, they've got radars, they've got jammers, spoofers, they've got kinetic rockets that are being fired. And what happened in the war in Ukraine, you saw them move from RF-based drone systems to fiber optics. So you basically took out your GPS denied systems, you took out your RF jammers because of the fiber optic capabilities. You took off your radars because if you turn on a radar, you're going to get artillery attack on you. You notice right now there really isn't anything that's effective, right? That's the problem. So, any other questions? Is that it? I'll be around all night long. like Lionel Richie. So thank you.
Thanks, good answer. Pass that off. I also like your triangle technology, the stop and you will push your hands in the name. That's very good.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Then fine. Okay, let me bring out drone spotter. Presented by Mario.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Let me just get situated here. Okay, well, hello. My name is Mike Manizzi, co-founder and CEO of Drone Spotter. We're currently in revenue. We've been in business for just over 13 months now, and our mission is to elevate airspace awareness one detection at a time. So this is a real problem. No matter where you're at in the country, we have reports of over 51% of near misses at airports in the last decade were due to drones. This quarter alone, or excuse me, quarter one alone in 2025, there's been 410 drone reported sightings near airports. Why is this all happening? This all is leading to this idea of a lack of a low altitude airspace awareness. And we at Drone Spotter define this as anything flying below 2,000 feet AGL. And you can see, especially in current events over the last 6 months in particular, drones in the low altitude airspace have wreaked havoc on our national airspace and operations on the ground, whether that's forest firing efforts or even just what's going on over in New Jersey and the hysteria that's come from it. Mainly, this is all tied to our current systems are not scalable in terms of tracking and understanding where these threats are at. And that's where we at Drone Spotter come into the mix. We offer technology that tracks and identifies, alerts end users, provides intelligence in terms of trends and what's going on, but then most importantly, provides a scalable hardware solution that can detect drones at a national level. So how does it work exactly? That piece of hardware I just described is the cornerstone of our offering today, as shown here in this graphic. We detect remote ID compliant drones. These drones are federally mandated to broadcast a signal that reveals their position, their operator location, as well as a unique identifier for tracking and general awareness purposes. From there, we take all that data, shoot it up to the cloud, process it, store it, and then disseminate it either via an API integration or via our own web app anywhere in the world. In addition to that, we're even starting to plug into some government customers and end users via technology stacks that they typically use in the field known as TAC or Team Awareness Kit. Think of that as the modern Blue Force tracker towards where assets are at and how battlefield management is played out. But furthermore, even addressing future threats beyond remote ID, we're looking to integrate other sensor modalities into that core offering that we have today. And I would encourage you to come by our booth so you can see an example or the real life box there. Some of those integrations could include radar systems, cameras, and even ADS-B systems as well to understand where manned aviation is flying. So we were very honored and very excited to come to Pendleton about 3 months ago. We came here with our MVP, which you can see there on the left. Our MVP to date generated over 100K in ARR in Q1 alone. We detected just shy of 9,000 drones all over the national airspace, and were deployed at the time to 15 cities, specifically also with an 86% conversion rate from free pilot programs to paying customers. The image there is a graphic of downtown Chicago, which is where we're headquartered, to show you the drone activity in downtown Chicago in the last 12 months alone. So in Pendleton, we were really excited. We deployed some systems here at the Pendleton Airport. I know it's a little blurry, but you can see a lot of the test activity that's going on there. But even surprisingly, the downtown Pendleton area has quite a lot of activity. You'd be surprised. We detected over 80 drones and over 1,000 flights on the system here in Pendleton, but also leveraging some of the accelerator interns out in Western Oregon, I believe the Eugene area. But our main claim and our main success exiting the accelerator and after 90 days was developing our next generation, or what we're calling our first gen product, which is the box there on the right. We get enhanced performance out of that, which we were reliably tested here at the range, which makes it very easy to test, of course. Reduced our cost, but more importantly is an NDAA compliant system that is ready to scale. And we've identified the supply chain, nailed all that, and ready to move forward with it. So who's our industry and where we're going? As you would imagine, the airspace can be quite complex. We think traditional airspace, airspace management, traffic systems, all of that, and all that good stuff. But specifically, this problem is our beachhead is the physical security industry. Globally, this industry is just shy of $150 billion annually. What we're looking at is specifically the remote ID domestic market to be a total of what we predict $2 billion, which makes for a quite large sum. And the way we're going to achieve this is by targeting a very specific end user group. So we anticipate over 640,000 organizations domestically interested in low altitude airspace awareness. And out of those, we're targeting 45,000 of those end users, many of which we have pilot programs in or they're paying customers, as evident of some of the logos below down there. Our business model can be kind of dynamic here. But what we're focusing on is actually the right-hand part of this slide for a couple of different reasons. We're focusing on enterprise and government solutions, and specifically the long-term play here is the data as a service. Once the network is deployed and established, we no longer have to deal with the hardware aspect of our business to the same extent as we do today. Additionally to that, we also see potential for other revenue streams, including a freemium offering, as well as more of a consumer level offering, which we call standard here today. These models are all based on a subscription service. We want to eliminate the aspect of paying for hardware and then subscribing for service and data and warranty and all that. So it's a full turnkey solution at a single price point on an annual basis. Our go-to-market strategy is pretty straightforward when it comes to the physical security industry because it's pretty well established. Right now, and in the last 6 months, we've been running a lot of pilot programs and converting those customers specifically onto the DroneSpotter platform. But the long-term strategy in this space are direct integrations and channel partners. A lot of companies that offer technology that pertain to physical security are oftentimes wanting to be integrated for good reason to provide single pane of glass situational awareness towards what's going on in the facility behind you. As you'd imagine, you don't want dedicated real estate towards each one of your systems protecting your facilities. But our second beachhead, and one that's rapidly growing, is the safety of the national airspace. Right now, we're working with the FAA and other agencies to better understand what drone activity looks like around airports and other critical infrastructure, but specifically drone operations like drone as first responder for law enforcement, as well as some of the drone delivery companies like Amazon, Zipline, Google, are very interested in understanding what's going on in the airspace around their operations, not only for continuity of their operations, but also the safety component, as you would imagine. Our revenue projections show the change in the business model as time goes on. So as you can see, until the hardware is fully deployed and we have the network in place, you see growth in our enterprise model, but it quickly becomes overcome in later years with our data as a service model. And then we have a little freemium model as well up there for ad-based consumer use on our site. Our competition today is very interesting because we have a lot of different companies that are focusing on everything from counter drone to low altitude airspace awareness in terms of manned aviation, like a company like Involi. But the main takeaway here are these four key differentiators. DroneSpotter is focusing on building a very robust data network that none of our competitors really come close to. The ease of deployment in less than 10 minutes for a sensor gives us a value prop for companies to easily deploy these things like security cameras. The fact that we're a US company and NDAA compliant hardware is also a key differentiator for us. Most of the people in this exact space are not using US or non-Chinese hardware. And finally, the cost component, which is significantly cheaper and made to scale. We're looking for a strategic partner to help us grow. We've completely de-risked the hardware and the product offering and are proving product market fit every day. And having a raise of $3 million allows us to continue growing our products and responding to our customer needs and demands. Our timeline shows as such, we want to grow eventually into the international market as remote ID policies come online and are adopted by other countries. And we see significant growth there more into 2027, especially after the product has been further refined and developed. The team is backed by both myself and my co-founder, We combined have over 27 years of drone and aviation experience, and we've identified key personnel who we already want to bring on as well. So in summary, DroneSpotter has de-risked not only our product, but our customer base. We are in revenue. Our unique business model allows us to enter the market in a very different way than most other folks in counter-UAS and drone detection. Our system is low cost and very scalable. And then finally, there's a dual tech component as well that we see the military and other operations. So thank you for your time. And we also want to thank the range and the accelerator for having us as part of this great opportunity. Thank you.
Great job nodding the Oregon brand, so we can share those. All right, questions.
So let's say to install a smaller sized airport in Portland or medium sized airport in Portland, what would, I know you got several products that you actually service, but like in the next couple of years, what would it cost the airport to purchase the equipment or, annual service fee for that equipment to basically geofence and protect the airport?
Yeah, so just to reiterate the question for folks on the line, estimated cost of what it would take an airport like Portland to get equipped with DroneSpotter technology. So it's all dependent on the size of the airport. As you imagine, Portland, Chicago, O'Hare, very different size and class. Based on my experience of flying in and out of Portland, I would say reliably a couple of sensors would be needed, two to four, which we could offer that as an annual subscription of under $10,000 a year.
Drone detection seems like a pretty crowded market with lots of players already in the market. It's great that you have early traction. Why are your customers choosing you over some of the more established players like D-Drone?
Yeah, great question. So why DroneSpotter versus other counter-UAS providers or drone tracking providers? We entered this space specifically with the mission of providing technology that's affordable and scalable. A lot of the other technologies in the space today have spent years developing very sophisticated and robust technologies that would never be able to approach an operation like Portland Airport at that price point. That's our main North Star as a business, is being able to not have our customers say, we want it, but we can't afford it. So one of the main reasons why they're coming, in addition to just the price point, is also the ease of installation as well. We offer a technology that can be stood up very rapidly, but also the way we're setting up our data network to be able to configure and share data across customers and across the nation offer also an additional unique value proposition that most companies aren't offering today.
Given your price point, you can go down market like what these other companies cannot. Is a down market, like, do you have like an ideal customer profile identified? Like, who do you think is going to be buying the first 1,000 units?
So our ideal customer at the moment from the physical security side, I would say there's really two, to be honest. One is local law enforcement. And think of this as cities that probably don't qualify themselves as like top 10. Most of the, top 10, top 20, top 30 cities have different budgets for this technology. What we've found immediate traction in our sheriff's offices that can afford to put a little bit of coin into this problem, but can't afford to dedicate, relinquishing next year's cruiser upgrade program. And so we've walked into scenarios like what happened in New Jersey in December of last year and immediately walked out with a sale because they realized that we not only were we affordable, but we can scale our technology in their area to provide them enhanced airspace awareness in a very scalable manner. The second end user that we've been working with have been more of the private corporation. Private corporations are interested, especially as I like to say, in a post-Luigi world with executive protection, corporate espionage, and just overall campus security, are often left trying to understand what's the best technology to employ in their use case. And we've been able to show them remote ID as the way to go for a variety of reasons. And there's even some legal components to it that we can talk offline about. But there's a handful of reasons why corporations have been going that route.
Very good point. on non-running drones?
Yeah, great question. So, what do we do with non-compliant drones? Drone Spotter's fundamental belief is that in order to start characterizing and understanding what's going on in the airspace, is you start with what's compliant, and that's where our core building block technology is. We have customers that are already onboarded with Drone Spotter technology and now starting to ask that question. That's where on my earlier slide, if you noticed, we have an integration channel and other partners we want to work with. We've identified some other hardware providers and other technology providers that assist in this space, but we're being, frankly, very picky on what technologies we want to use because we want to make sure they offer the best value and ROI for our customers. Because as you employ some of those other technologies like radar, LiDAR, advanced electro-optical infrared camera systems, they get very costly very quickly. So we are working on selecting what technologies would work fundamentally best with our system to help grow in that area.
One last question. Can your solution be installed on a vehicle for like mobile scenarios?
Great question. So I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but our box has an LTE backhaul to the cloud. We initiated our business with a fixed installation mentality. However, due to the nature and the size of the box, we find a lot of our customers immediately going to that mobile protection. And about half of the customers that we have today are in a mobile environment of some sort. The good news is that it didn't require a retooling of our product at all, other than equipping the device with magnetic antenna mounts and arrays. So similar to probably you've seen presidential convoy with one or two little antennas at the top of the Suburbans, we're capable and we're doing that today.
Nice job. Thanks, Mike.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sorry, that was one that I found very closely. I found very entertaining stuff. Not living in New Jersey, so I was not afraid. All right. That is it for our presentations. So we now are going to throw up this QR code. The judges have been working on their rankings, and so they have voted on their judge's choice. And now it's time for you all to take a snapshot of the QR code, do the People's Choice winners, and what we're going to do, because I'm now in the unenviable position of standing between you and the Pendleton whiskey at the bar, is have everybody get up, stretch their legs, grab a drink, vote, and then we'll call everybody back. We won't force you to sit down. It'll be more of a network type event, and we will announce the winners. So feel free to head out to the bar, which Andrew, is it outside? Oh, it's right there in the corner. Fantastic. You don't even have to leave the room. All right, People's Choice Award, and then we'll be back in a few minutes to announce the winners. attention. You can keep eating. We're very close to being finished with this exciting portion of our event. I'm excited to welcome back to the stage Oregon UAS Executive Director Joseph Wino to announce the winners. Joseph, take it away.
Oh, sorry. I forgot the second part of my my voice here. So, before we announce the judges' overall prize as well as the People's Choice, this is an event where everyone is a winner. And so we'd like to call each of our founders up to the stage. First, we'd like to call 3 Autonomy up. Where are you? We'd like to award Max Anderson with 3 Autonomy with $20,000 in non-dilutive grant funding. Good. Yeah. Good. Next up, Morgan Geospatial. Brian, where are you? There you go. Awesome job. Drone spotter.
We're smiling for the live stream, right? Thanks, Jojo.
You're very welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Ziz Defense, Jonathan Hunter. Monica Kumar. Yes, of course. Aditya. Awesome. And last but not least, Stephen Carlson with the Sipiter Airworks. Choice. So now I'd like to award the People's Choice Award that you've all voted for. And gosh, how cool. I mean, I should be wearing this. I should be wearing this tonight. I just don't have boots and you know, I usually wear my cowboy hat, but the cowboy hat in Pendleton, you have to earn the right to wear a cowboy hat, right? And the only time they make an exception for me to wear a cowboy hat is during Roundup. And so it just so happens that our next event, our Pendleton Investor Roundup, coincides with the world famous Pendleton Roundup Rodeo. So you will see me in my cowboy hat. And maybe by then I'll have boots as well. So without further ado, I'd like to present the People's Choice Award to Drone Spotter. So, you. And again, the judges prize winner for this competition, boy, I don't know if I want to give this away. I mean, like, do we make an extra one for me? So the judges overall winner for this competition, congratulations to Ziz Defense. Thank you. You're very welcome, Jonathan. Yeah. Awesome. So I think so.
I think I make a great big of the South, which is very, very green. Like all of my, paycheck, voting involved, commercial.
Good.
Okay, I just. Congratulations. The event and drone spotter, but I will wait until
Nick gives me this, and I will say that again. All right, congratulations to all the companies, especially to Ziz Defense and Drone Spotter. Just a reminder, this is my favorite reminder, I make it at all of our events. Every one of the companies that you have seen today is investable and would be happy to have a conversation with you if you are an investor. I hope you'll take the time to visit the folks and see their products in the booths along this side of the wall and get acquainted during the networking that's going to happen throughout the evening. Again, thank you to all the Oregon UAS community partners and supporters of this program. We appreciate you. This work does not happen without you. You can see all of them on the slides. And then stick around. We're going to finish dinner, and in about 30 minutes, we're going to have a fireside chat with JD Tavis and Joseph. So we are really thankful that we get to continue to do this work with you. I think Steve Chrisman is in the room. He tried to get me to come to Pendleton for 5 years, and I've been here 4 times in the last 11 months. So I love it. Yeah, round of applause for that. We recently, before I say my final goodbye, the next time my husband and I come back, we are going to try to stay a little longer. We need to do some research. We recently had our house in Portland on the neighborhood home tour, and our house was built in 1911 by a judge, J.A. Hartman from Umatilla County. So we have a huge Eastern Oregon connection, and we feel really fortunate for that. So thank you for your hospitality. Congratulations to all the innovators. We look forward to the fireside chat, and we'll be back in September. So have a good night.